my next question is, you're representing the boomers generation, and for sure you have worked for someone older than you are, probably belonging to the silent generation. What was it like, or was there a distinction by the way the silent generation people lead and manage people?
That's a great question, really. I would say that it's less what you call the silent generation in my career move, but more the hierarchy of the male dominated industrial leaders, and then the women coming into the workforce beyond the traditional professions of caregiving, nursing, and teaching into the hardcore corporate Wall Street, big industry platforms. I would say it was more of a hierarchy of male, not necessarily silent generation, but male predominated.
How do you manage, or how do you handle that kind of situation when you have a lot of hierarchy and it's male dominated?
Right. Well, that's great. Great question too, because that's what I had to do all my life. So what I did was, it's almost like a cross-cultural study, but it's a study of different peoples within my own culture, which was dress the part, speak the language, and keep on getting what you want through the way that they can communicate with you. So instead of course, the boomer generation was big feminism. It was a lot of progress. It was individualization, exploration. But in the workplace, we had to kind of be structured. So I'll give you a funny tip, which was in American corporate life, I made sure that I always wore a suit, a women's suit, and high heels. Okay, why? Because if I did not wear a business suit, I would be considered part of the administrative support staff and not a leader or manager of people. So that was one distinguishing thing. To me, it doesn't matter if someone requires, it's the silent requirement of, if I have to wear a suit to be taken seriously, no problem. It's not going against my moral judgment. So I just play the part. And in Japan, it was exceptionally interesting in my career. I lived in deep immersion there, speak Japanese. And once I was in this Japanese company working, very huge. It was one of the top 5 major companies in Japan. And of course, I dressed formally. I respected the hierarchy. I bowed. But I also was the only non-Japanese person in the company. So what I had to do when I came over from the States, I had to be silent and allow the hierarchical leaders, the men and the bosses, take the lead in speaking English to me. Even though they knew very, very well I was fluent in Japanese and had been living there for years and years. So I just waited and waited and waited. I spoke in English with them, and when they could show their status of fluent English speakers, which wasn't as fluent as I was in Japanese, but that's all right. And also of their positioning, of that they could be in control of the language. 3 weeks later, without any forewarning, they just switched to Japanese, and the whole company never spoke to me in English again. Wow. So this is a test of my ability to fit into the group, my ability to be in the hierarchy, and also my ability to be patient and allow the relationships to develop the way that they normally would in the country I was in, which was Japan.